Richmond 34 were a group of students from Virginia Union University that were among over 200 that left the campus on February 22nd, 1960 to participate in the Thalhimers sit-ins.
I was at Virginia Union University. I think I was a sophomore at that time when the Greensboro 4 set in North Carolina. And there was a wind which was sweeping through. And we realized that we needed to make a stand. We needed to say something.
They'd gone some days before, a group of students, and they weren't able to, they didn't get arrested, but they did shut the store down. That was in Grants and Woolworths.
This did not start one day. We picketed Thalhimers for over a year before it came to the demonstration of, we're hungry, we're just going to walk in where it's white only, and we're going to sit down and ask to be waited on. We had the money to do it.
It wasn't about eating at Thalhimers or Millen Rose, because we had excellent restaurants in the black community. But it was about making a statement and speaking force to power, speaking truth to power, to say, hey, there's another thing, there's another way to go about doing this. And we need to look at it. And it's time for us to make a change.
But I was just thinking, okay, I'm going to go to the march, and I'm not going to really get involved that much. But before I knew it, I had marched with them all the way to Thalhimers.
That was a holiday. It was one of the President Days. At that time, there were two President Days. And my father had taken me to buy a suit. And I made my way down to Thalhimers after that.
We were marching around the store, picketing with the picket signs. And it just happened that one of the leaders, Sherrod and Pinkston, said, we're going in. I said, everybody can't go in. So it was just the luck of the draw. I was coming around the corner at the time they were saying, okay, you going in. Then they stopped it at 34. That's how it happened to be 34 people.
And I remember sitting down with other students, and we sort of talked about why we were here and what we need to focus on, that we needed to stay calm at all costs.
We were all sitting there. We were all ready because we'd already been trained by Martin Luther King about nonviolence. And so we were ready for what was happening, and we were there to be nonviolent. And we were hoping that nothing violent happened to us.
And then someone came over and said, you have to leave. And we had decided that we weren't going to leave. And so I said, well, I'm not going to leave. I came here to be served. And they arrested me.
And pretty soon we saw the police wagons pull up. And I said, oh my goodness, what does this mean? So I saw the police get out, not just by themselves, but with the German Shepherd dogs. And I said, oh boy.
I was taken out, put in the paddy wagon, as we called it at that time, and taken to jail, fingerprinted, the whole 9 yards.
I was late coming to Thalhimers to have lunch there because I had classes. And my aunt was paying my tuition. You know how that is. And she said, I don't want any professor calling me at home because you missed class. Walking down to Thalhimers on Broad Street, we didn't see anybody picketing. And when we got to Thalhimers, we asked someone standing there, the citizens of Richmond were there. They were not denied anything. What happened to our classmates? They said they were arrested. We took up the placards and began walking and said nothing because we were trained by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. to be nonviolent. And we continued to walk while they were we not knowing what was happening to them.
But fortunately, the Richmond community, being aware that we were doing this, was ready to bail us out. They had galvanized, and that force was in place.
So the Negro churches supported us, the communities, the sororities, and the fraternities. And more so, we got support from Virginia Union.
The vice president of Virginia Union put his house up so that our bail would be paid, and other people did the same thing. I think the Egglesons who ran Eggleson's restaurant and hotel, and the Duncans who ran Slaughter's Hotel, they also made major contributions in terms of seeing that our bail was met. And other groups, other people made smaller contributions, and it all came together.
The civic groups not only supported us with their homes being put up, as collateral, but when my 34 classmates came out of jail, they celebrated them in the streets. There are pictures that show hundreds of people just clapping. So we knew we had the community support, we had the church's support, we had the support of our school, and the support of our parents, but they just didn't know what we were planning.
It was reassuring that what we were doing was, first of all, appreciated, and second, it was needed, and that we gave a voice that other people supported. And maybe they had not said it in the way that we said it, but they supported it. That was affirmation. Wherever I went, hey, I'm glad you did this. We're behind you, in the church, in the community. I remember that one of the sororities, Alpha Kappa Alpha, had planned to have a biennial dance, formal dance. And the money they had raised for that, they gave to the movement. And other organizations did the same thing.
The Richmond 34 is Richmond's own. It's a part of Richmond's history.
Richmond is changed because of us. Richmond has.
I think it was important then, and I think it's important that people have some recognition of that even now, because the struggle is not over. In the last few years, it has raised its head in a different form, and we still need to address many of those issues. For several years, they may have been under the table, but recently they seem to be coming to the front. So I think it's important for people to know, hey, there were a group of people who made a sacrifice. It was important, and we need to embrace that now and still move forward.
To the fans, I would say to you, always see the best in who you're sitting next to, who you meet, to love your family more, that they didn't have to go through what we went through. And I would say to you to be peaceful and enjoy what you have, because it can be taken away from you in a heartbeat.
Enjoy the game, root for the right team, and remember our story, and tell it to your children so that they will have a feel for the struggle that we have been through and the struggle that we're still going through.